What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Get the Bag podcast. I am your host, Claudia Castro. I got my co-host, Tim Park.
What up,
What
fam?
is up? Hope everyone's having a great week. It's Monday.
Yeah.
Really excited for today's episode. We've had to reschedule a few times, but it's going to be super informative. But before we always get into that. Don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel. We're on every week, dropping gems from entrepreneurs or people just beginning their journey, people ending their journey, halfway through, whatever the case may be. We're here to bring value to you guys. So any amount of love would be much appreciated. But without further ado, today's guest, really excited because she was referred by another guest, and we always love bringing on people in our network. But she is a dedicated wife, a mother of two teenagers. I can only imagine, and the CEO of Her Investments. During the pandemic, she decided to quit her full-time job as a director of accounting for school districts. Sounds like a pretty good job
Yeah.
to get into wholesaling, which I think happened a lot, especially during COVID. But through many trials and tribulations, she found herself broke and bad credit. She got into, just finding creative ways to make money and also purchase real estate. And one thing that she discovered was private money, which
Mm.
I think a lot of people, I don't think are very know have a lot of knowledge about that. And so she was able to raise her first $100,000 on a plane from a complete stranger. So can't wait to hear that
Oh,
story.
I know, right?
Um, yeah, so now she dedicates her time teaching people how to invest passively, and also connects investors with lenders to fund their deals. Always a win-win situation, as we call it. Let's welcome Tilisa. Almost got it wrong. Tilisa to the Get the Bag podcast. What's going on, girl?
Hey, how's it going, Claudia and Tim? Thanks, guys, for
Hey,
having me here.
welcome.
Of course, welcome. Yeah, we were just talking about how in she was actually supposed to come on. I want to say in August or September, but some
Hmm.
things came up literally the day of, or at the 12th hour. I think we were supposed to start, and I was like, oh, some things came up. So we're finally here. So thank you so much for taking time out to chat with us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm a firm believer in, everything happens for a
Yes.
reason. And, for some reason tonight, there may be somebody listening, or this episode, somebody may just click that play button and it may just be what they need to hear in this
Absolutely.
moment in November. And so I'm just glad that we got to make it happen.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. So for those who don't know us, I mean, we know you're a mother, you're a wife, but tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, um, and kind of how you stumbled into wholesaling, because I think a lot of the audience that we work with are wholesalers, or a lot of them, since we are. But I'd love to kind of hear your background, kind of where it all started.
Yeah. So, actually, what a lot of people don't know, right now, I currently live in Richmond, Virginia, but I'm actually like born and somewhat raised in Bakersfield, California.
No
So, for
way.
Oh,
those of you who are in Cali, you may have heard of Bakersfield, Oil Town, not really a whole lot there.
mm-hmm.
There really isn't
Um,
anything there.
No,
there's
right.
not. And so, but for a part of my life, I would say from the time I was like 3 to about 13, I actually lived in Virginia. And so I actually had an opportunity to, see what it was like to be around people that had home ownership, be around people who were, wealthy and whatnot. And then when I was 13, my mom moved us kids back to Bakersfield, California. It was kind of like a culture shock. Like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
We heard gunshots like the first night we were there. I was like, I want
Yeah.
to go back
Right.
home. But I always wanted to do something with myself, and I actually got pregnant at 15 years old. My husband and I, we met in 8th grade, and by
Mm.
sophomore year we had our daughter. And so just think about being a teenager, having a child, having the full on responsibility of a family, and not wanting to be like a stereotype, right?
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I fought very hard not to be the stereotype. And so right after high school, I went straight to go get my bachelor's. I went to Cal State University, Bakersfield. Later on, after that, transferred to DeVry University and graduated my bachelor's from there. And then later on, went and got my MBA in accounting. And really, the goal was to just get a job that just paid good money. So that way I could provide my little family with a lifestyle that, I felt like they deserved. And so I did that. I did what everybody says to do, go to college, go climb the corporate ladder, all those things. And in my family, coming from Bakersfield, somebody from Bakersfield, it was quite an accomplishment to get my MBA, to work my way up the corporate ladder to where now I am this director of accounting, making over $100,000 a year. But I'm sitting in this position and I am miserable.
Mm.
I'm not happy. I don't like the relationship that me and my little family have. We're not as close knit and as bonded as I had wanted us to be. I don't like the fact that I have to ask my employer, can I go to my kids' field trips or can I go on a vacation? It just got to the point where I was just like why, like what? Okay, I can keep climbing the corporate ladder and I can maybe get up to like 300,000 a year, whatever. But like, what's the point if I'm not happy?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know? And so after after a lot of like me and my husband having conversations about just how difficult it was just for us to spend time together, right? Like he was a truck driver. I worked at the school districts. So by the time I'm going to work, he is coming home and we're like missing each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm.
we had to have a very real conversation and say, what do we want to do as a family, as a couple? And we were like, at this point, I think we need to just trust God, quit our corporate jobs, and go into real estate because I had known about real estate. We had bought properties, sold properties, our own personal properties before, made
Mm-hmm.
like 40, 50,000 in profit just because of the equity. And so we knew that there was value in getting into real estate. But one thing that we didn't want to do is we didn't want to fork all of our money out on like one rental property and
Right.
then be like broke, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I had ended up doing is we quit our corporate jobs. That was very difficult because you have to think like, we don't really know what we're doing. At this point, I've watched a couple of YouTube videos where they're saying, oh, you can get into wholesaling with none of your own money. And it's super easy. You can make like $40,000 in one deal. And so I was very much under the impression that we were going to be able to make more than what we were making when we were at our W-2 jobs, like fairly
Mm-hmm.
quickly. So what did we do? We quit our jobs. We pulled our money out of our 401ks. We sold our house and we took that like $80,000 and we were like, okay, we're going to Airbnb, like arbitrage, get us an Airbnb arbitrage, and we're going to start a wholesale business. That's what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to educate ourselves. And
Mm.
so after about 6 months of that, we were broke.
Mm-hmm.
And we were broke because what we were paying for VAs to pull lists. We were cold calling. Like nobody tells you that all this stuff costs money. It's not free to
Mm-hmm.
wholesale.
No.
All of these
Yep.
things cost money. If you want to be good at it, you want to put out mailers. You want to put out bandit signs. You want to get the software that's going to allow you to run comps a lot quicker than having to do it on your own. And so it's like we were living the lifestyle of people who were still making over $100,000 a year while
Mm-hmm.
also trying to feed a wholesale business. So you could imagine after a couple of months, our bank account starting to dwindle down. You
Mm.
know, we're having okay, well, let's just pull from the credit card and pay for this. And then all of a sudden now our credit score is 200 points less than it
Mm.
was when we started this whole thing. And we can't even get a hard money loan. So it's
Right.
like, what do we do? We're real estate investors, but we can't even buy real estate because we can't even get a hard money loan. And so that was like the rock bottom for me.
Wow,
Yeah.
there's so much to unpack there.
Yeah.
With what you just just sharing. I think the first thing, especially being married, I'm sure, is being on the same page. And I think Tim and I have talked about this too, where um, when you have your significant other, it's so key to be on the same page financially. Like, what does your vision look like? And it sounded, I don't know how easily it was like for you guys to decide, you know, let's do that, or did it take a couple conversations to be like, okay, we're going to quit our jobs? Because I'm sure, you know, if you two are on the same page, maybe that made it a little bit easier. Like you have some
Hmm.
literally somebody with you. The support system is right by your side.
Yeah, you know what? And I would say that that's the one thing, and maybe that's the one thing that helped us, but I think that's the other thing that kind of like worked against us is the fact
Hmm.
that we were both so optimistic. You know,
Mm.
neither one of us was
Nobody
like,
was a realist.
no.
Yeah. About I
There has
keep
to
my
be one.
job and then, you know,
Right. I'm like,
yeah.
babe, I'm going to quit my job. You know, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. You should do it too. You know, and I'm thinking he's going to be like, no, I'm going to stay at mine for a little while. And he's like, okay, cool. I'm going to quit mine too. I'm like, oh, we're doing this. We're
Right.
doing this. Okay. So
Oh.
yeah, it took us to both be on the same page, but I think that that's really helped us out a lot, especially just in this whole journey is every
Hmm.
step along the way, we have these serious discussions and now we are better decision makers. So we're
Mm.
weighing out the pros and cons. You know, we're asking ourselves the difficult questions that before we would both think about, but neither one of us would say because it was uncomfortable. Now we're
Hmm.
saying those things that are uncomfortable and we're challenging one another. You know, we're not always taking one another's side because you have to think we've been best friends since the eighth grade.
Right. You
Right.
guys go
So
way back.
there's like a certain level of like, I don't want to hurt your feelings. You don't want to hurt my feelings. But now it's more like, no, we've got to build this wealth. So you need to be my mirror and I need to be your mirror.
I love that.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So, anyway, so how I got into raising private money. So, as you guys can see, you know, I couldn't even get a hard money loan. And at this point, you know, I had made a lot of connections. I had made connections in Pace Morby's group with the creative finance students. I had made connection in Jamil Damji's group. So I made all these different connections. So now I'm finding people that are finding deals and they're finding like really good, like creative deals.
Hmm.
And I'm introduced to these students who are in PACE's program, and they have this deal under contract. It is a multifamily, and they don't have the finances for it. They're looking for private
Hmm.
money. And by this time, I had already learned about private money and it was just literally me talking one day about how I needed to like raise money or needed to get money for my deals. And I saw like Amy Majori raising private money. I saw one of her ads come across Instagram, and I was like, wait, that's what I need, because she was talking about like you don't have to raise money from like your family or your friends. Like I teach you
Hmm.
how to raise money from complete strangers. And I was like, that's what I need. I need like complete strangers to like give your girl some money for these deals. And so I had already gotten into Amy's program, looked into it, paid for her program. And so I was already pretty confident in my ability to raise private money at this point. And so by the time I had been introduced to these sub two students, and I saw that there was a need, and that's another thing that, you know, I want the viewers to understand is anytime that you're able to add value or you're able to bring a piece to somebody else's deal that they were missing, you're always going to have a spot, you know. So
Hmm.
just find where you can add value and insert yourself in those places. And that's exactly what I did. And so they had got this creative deal under contract, and they needed about $100,000 in order to close. And so I told them, I said, you know what, if you guys will give me, you know, a percentage of ownership, then I will go out and raise this money for you. And they were like, deal, like no hesitation. They only had 3 weeks before it was time to close. And remind you, I had never raised money before, ever. Right. And so this is the story that everybody loves, the plane story, right?
Yep. Right.
And so one day I told you it was 3 weeks out, and I was going to Dallas, and on my way back to Virginia, while I was on the plane, no, I'm sorry, not even while I was on the plane yet, I was in the airport. I was excited to finally start using what I had learned about raising private money in the airport. And I was going to find somebody to lend me some money. And so as I'm sitting there in the airport, I'm looking, there's like all these people, and I'm trying to find like somebody that will just like make eye contact with me so I can just like start engaging in conversation. Nobody looks at me. Like nobody. The entire 3 hours that I'm sitting there at the airport, not one person, and I completely psyched myself out. And so it's time for me to board my flight. And I'm just like, this is it. Like, I don't have any more time. I don't have any more time. Like, my family, like we've quit our jobs, like we've done all these drastic moves. Like I've paid these thousands of dollars to be in this coaching program. Like I have to do it. I have to put myself out there. And so right before I was about to board the flight, I had put this podcast on, and I was listening on the AirPods right before I boarded the flight. And the part that I listened to, it was like a financial mindset podcast. The part that I listened to, the guy was saying, sometimes God will give you these windows of opportunity, and we can either choose to take those windows of opportunity and take action and watch our lives continue to elevate, or we can choose to not go through that window of opportunity. And maybe that opportunity might come up again in maybe 5-6 years, maybe not, who knows? But I was like, I don't want to wait. I don't have time to wait. And so I was like, I have to, when I get on this plane, I'm going to find somebody to fund my deal. And so I go in the plane, I find my seat, I sit down. There's these two really, large guys that are sitting, one by the aisle and one by the window seat. And I'm like, hey, excuse me, I think my seat's in the middle or whatever. So I sit down. I'll make the story quick. And the guy to my right, we just start having random conversation. We're completely opposite. He's an older white man in his late 60s. Him and his wife have been together for about they've been together since they were in 8th grade. I was like, oh, me and my husband have been together since we were in 8th grade. He's got a golden doodle puppy. I'm like, oh, I've got a golden doodle. So we've got all these things in common, right? And then he goes, yeah, and I'm an engineer, by day, but I flip properties, in my spare time, but I'm really getting to that age where I don't really want to be flipping anymore. And I really want to put my money to work for me and just do something more passively. And I just got like chills. And I was like, really? I'm like, well, I've got this deal under contract right now, and I'm actually looking for a private money lender, and I gave my whole little spiel or whatever. And by the time we were off that flight, he said, hey, I've got $200,000 sitting in my 401k, and I would like to invest it with you. How do I invest it with you?
Nice.
And from there, I said, that's all I needed was proof of concept.
Right.
Like, that's all I needed was proof of concept. That's it. If you can get somebody to like you, if you can get somebody to relate to you, and if you can show somebody that you have something of value, because his money was just sitting in his 401k, not making anything. He saw an opportunity to make double-digit returns, and he jumped on it. And I jumped on the opportunity to partner with him because I needed that deal.
Right.
And so, yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, that it's just so crazy that like you could just meet somebody on a plane and then they give you $100,000 or $200,000, and because they believe in you. Because I think I say this all the time. This is a relationship based business. And if you can relate and provide value, like you said, to somebody, they're going to, do business with you.
Right.
And whether they have the money or whether they have a deal, it's all about that connection that you have with that person. So I think your story is very relatable, and I think people out there that can't, do a deal or can't raise money, I think you just proved right there that it is possible, right? And you were at your, you know, kind of end of the
Yeah,
rope type of situation. That flight was
exactly.
it, right? So,
Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
always like that. You got to kind of push through towards the end because that's kind of where like that green grass is, just right on that other side.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's usually people give up right when they're just about to get,
hmm
accomplish their goal. And I think this is also something Pace also teaches is, you know, there you don't people don't need to have a private money title to
hmm
look for money, right? It's just putting yourself out there. And there's people who work really good 9 to 5 jobs that are millionaires or make $500,000 and make plenty. Doctors, lawyers that don't want to just park their money in the bank. So I think,
hmm
like you said, obviously you added value to him and he added value to you. So I think anywhere where you can contribute, like you said earlier, and bring value to someone, I think naturally things will just kind of work out like they did.
hmm
So how did that work out? So you were able to get your private money investor, and you were able to close obviously in the 3 months. Do you still have that property? Was it kind of did that
Yeah.
kind of trickle into where you're at now?
Yeah. So we still have that property. That property still cash flows. That private money lender is still very happy with the returns. And now, yeah, I mean, it has become one of the biggest parts of my business, just raising private money and showing
hmm
other people how to also raise private money. I think that the biggest thing for people to understand is that there are a lot more people out here than you think that have money. Like, for instance, I had my family, and I love my family. If anybody's watching, y'all know I love y'all. But my family doesn't come from money. And for a very, very long time, up until very recently, everybody spent their money on weed and food. And
Mm,
so it didn't dawn on me to talk to my family about private money or becoming private money lenders. But just because of me posting what I'm doing, my family have come to me, my brothers, hey sis, I have $10,000 sitting in a 401k from an old
hmm
job I used to work at. I can't take it out till I'm 55 anyways. Can I just roll it over to you and can you do something with it? And I'm just like, oh wow, yeah, I actually can. And so I'm helping them roll that money into a Roth, excuse me, a Roth IRA, so that then they can invest it in my deals, whether that is me using their money to lend it out as E&D for somebody else and getting
mhm.
them a
hmm
return that way, or whether it's him, it maybe I need $100,000 and I borrow 90,000 from a private money lender, and I have my brother let me lend, $10,000, and I'm giving
Right.
him a 10% return. Whatever it
hmm
is, I'm just like, there's so many people out here in that situation who feel
hmm
like, dang, I'm broke, but not realizing, no, you got like 50, 60, 80, $100,000 sitting in an old 401k that's just sitting there that I can put to work. And
hmm
so it's just like, have that conversation with people. You don't need to talk to the ultra rich.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I
Yeah,
think
you don't need
like
to sit first class.
No,
exactly. And
no.
there's different ways to use the private money, like you said, like is it for the EMD or even for the deposit, or so not the full chunk of, like, let's say 500,000 or 200,000 or whatever it may be. It's how you can utilize that money for that specific deal, because you're getting deal flow because you can fund projects or fund the deal, right? And
Yeah.
it's just utilizing what funds you have available to actually solve a problem for that particular investor or partner that you have currently with the deal.
Well, as we
Oh,
kind of approach, yeah, she's back. As we kind of approach the end, I do want to talk about kind of, you mentioned you're teaching others. Tell us about that. If anybody is interested in raising private money or talking to strangers, like,
Yeah.
how does that work?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be hosting 2 workshops at the end of this month. One on the 25th here in Richmond, Virginia. So if you're in Richmond, Virginia, on the 25th, we're going to be at the Fairfield Library. I'm going to be teaching you how to raise private money, just how simple it is, where you can approach people, what you can say. Ultimately, I think that we have to get back to just having conversations with people. I think that social media has got us scared to just look somebody in the eye, maybe hold somebody's hand, put your hand on somebody's shoulder, and just have a conversation with them. You don't even have to talk about money off the top, because at the beginning, people just want to know who you are, you know? I tell people just who I am, what my background is. I've told you guys all this stuff. I haven't even told you about any of the deals that I need funded, because that doesn't matter. The relationship that we build matters. And then that will automatically result in you raising
Right.
private money. And I'll just say this. I was at a conference this past weekend, and a lady came up to me and she says, "Oh my God, Tilisa, I have been trying to find you for the last 2 days. I knew you were here." She was just like, "I've got money sitting in my 401k and I want to invest it with a woman." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's amazing that you want to invest it with a woman." Still not dawning on me that that woman's me. And she says, "No, but Tilisa, I know there's so many like bombshell women in here." She says, she says, "God has put you on my heart so heavy, and I only want to invest it with you. I mean, I only want to invest it with you." And I'm just like, really? Wow. And still, even now, I'm just like, wow, that's amazing that you want to. I don't even know like why, but it's just like you just start putting yourself out there, you just start making yourself likable, and those things are just going to come to you. And as cliche as it sounds, it is
Right.
it's just true. It just is.
People do business with people they like. That's kind of what goes around. And I think when any aspect of entrepreneurship, that's just how it is. So your network
Yeah.
is your net worth. It's be nice to people because you never know when you may need them. I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. But I think what I've taken away is like we overcomplicate things. Like when you think of private money lending, it sounds scary. It sounds, oh, I have to do the most. I need all these things, but it just starts with a conversation or just being open to a conversation, and the rest just kind of follows.
Yeah, you learn the rest later. I mean, and at my workshop, I'm going to teach you all of that. How do you protect, secure, and insure your private money lender? What documentation do you need? So, you're going to learn all that. But before all that, you have to have the confidence in yourself to just approach people and just have a conversation. So it starts there.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're at the end. Is there anything? I mean, you've left the audience with a lot, but how can people reach you if they are interested? I believe we have your link in the show notes, but any last
Yeah.
words and how can they reach you?
Yeah, so you guys can go to, it's very simple, herinvestments.org. That's HER investments.org. From there, you can book a call with me. I love to just chat and find out what you guys are doing, what you're investing in. If you want to become a lender, there's an option for you there. If you're an investor who needs your deal funded, there's options for you there. And if you're just somebody who wants to learn more about raising private money, there is an option for you there. So if you just go to herinvestments.org, you'll find all of that in one space.
I love
That's
it.
awesome.
Talisa, thank you so much. I learned something for sure today.
Yeah.
Next time I'm boarding a flight, I'm just gonna stare at people and see who
Yeah.
catch. I'm like, who's gonna catch? Y'all
All
ain't ready
right.
for these eyes. So thank
That's
you.
awesome.
I'm flying. I'm
You
actually
got
flying out somewhere Thursday. So
There you go.
So I'll give you guys a little tip, and this is your tip, Gladia. This is for you.
Okay.
The very first thing that you say when you meet somebody for the first time is, "Oh my God, where are you from?" People love to talk about where they're from. It's always a great conversation starter. And even if you may not know that place, you might be able to say, "Oh my God, I've actually been to the Cowboy Stadium there," whatever. Even if you don't, you can inquire about more. That's a great way to let people start opening up and let them start talking. Easy, 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 easy little tip.
Let me practice. No, I'm just
Especially at
kidding.
the
Where are you
airport.
from?
Yeah, that's it. One
Okay.
question.
That's it. I'll keep you posted how it goes, how many lenders I find from
There
that.
you go. Awesome.
love
This
it.
is so nice, you guys.
Thanks so much, everyone. We'll catch you guys next week. But thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you reach out to Tilisa. We got her information in the show notes. But until then, we'll catch y'all later. See ya.
All right. Peace.
Bye.